Welcome, everyone, to No Room for Comfort podcast. I am your host, Jesse Waterhouse, and I'm thankful for everyone joining me here tonight. Hold on one second. I got to get some. There we go. All right. Had to get some feedback through my headphones here. Wasn't able to hear myself. Anyway, if you're joining me right now, I am live on YouTube and Twitch. You can also find all of my episodes on Spotify. And you can follow me on Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok. Please like, subscribe, and share. I also do have a Discord chat open, No Room for Comfort podcast, if you'd like to join there. And if you have any questions about today's topic or any of my previous episodes' topics, or if you'd like to be a calling guest on the show, you can email me at noroomforcomfortpodcast@gmail.com, and I would love to get to those. So, with that being said, up to today's topic. Today's topic is going to be about the topic of resentment. I believe all of us have probably, at some point in our life, felt resentment. And in this episode, we're kind of going to focus on how we can avoid resentment, or not necessarily avoid resentment, I should say, more or less, circumvent resentment. Because the feeling of resentment is just going to kind of come all on its own due to, what someone says or the actions of others. Or in some cases, there's going to be self-resentment where it's something that you had said or something that you had done yourself. And it's basically that feeling of when we, get mad at ourselves, right? So I've had those feelings before where I'd get mad at myself. I've made decisions that they weren't decisions that I was consciously doing the wrong thing, but they were decisions where I would make that decision and the outcome would not turn out to be what I was wishing for it to be, or it just completely went the wrong direction. So, I would get mad at myself for the decision that I made. Well, there's one very important thing about that how that building up that resentment. There's one very important thing about that, and it's that you have to ask yourself the question, what's the point? What's the point of getting mad at myself? What's the point in feeling resentment for myself, or towards myself, rather? There really is no point, because if you take a look back at the action or the words that you said or whatever it may be, you realize that those things happened in the moment. And when they happen in the moment, we have to know that that moment has passed. And that is a correct and true thing, that moment has passed. So it's in the past. If it's in the past, there's nothing that we can do about it. We can't go back and change it. We can't go back and change what we said. We can't go back and change what we have done. So if you dwell on it and you get mad at yourself and you start feeling resentment towards yourself, that isn't going to help the situation that is created. That isn't going to help the outcome at all. In fact, it's going to hinder you from growth. So in my personal opinion, how I feel about it is that if you begin to get mad at yourself, you should reflect on it and then move on. Think about it momentarily and then move on. Sooner than later, rather than dwelling on what of this that's bothered you. Not only does it boil down to that, but there are situations where you've felt that resentment, even if it's resentment that you feel for a brief time and then you're able to move past it. The other question that you can ask is, has this created a problem for me? If it has created a problem for you, you have a couple of choices. You have two choices. You have the choice to sweep that problem under the rug and act as if that problem doesn't exist, or you can face that problem and figure out a solution. The easier choice is to forget about the problem. The easier choice is to sweep it under the rug. So say, oh, well, that happened. I guess I'm just going to distance myself as much as possible from the problem that I created due to this decision that I made. And I'm going to move on to the next thing. Well, it's easy to not care. It's easy to not work for satisfaction or work for a different outcome. Because at that point, if you made a decision that creates a problem for yourself, it's only an uphill battle from there for you. And even when you get to the top of that hill, if you were to decide to pursue that problem and face it, the outcome may not be as gratifying as what you played out in your head before the decision led to the resentment in the first place. So that can be kind of a serious thing, but I implore anyone who does create problems for themselves due to a decision that creates resentment is to reflect on the resentment, reflect on what's the point, see that there really is no point to it, move past it, and if it created a problem, to face it, even though it's going to be difficult to face that problem, even though the honesty of it and the accountability of it is more difficult. Trust me, the accountability of it and the honesty about it gets much, much easier the more that you do it. In fact, it gets so easy that it becomes a muscle memory for you that that's automatically how I'm going to be. And when you start doing that, then you will realize that you can solve problems that are created by decisions that you've made. You can solve these problems, improve things, improve aspects of your life, make up for if anyone else was affected by this, and or maybe even improve further the outcome of what is caused for somebody else. And when you have that accountability and you let go of that resentment and you face the problem and you circumvent all of these things and you decide that that is what you are going to do, at the end of the day, even though you began feeling resentment, what is going to happen is you are going to start feeling satisfaction. You're going to start feeling accomplished for what you've been able to achieve out of what seemed like a negative situation at first that wasn't meant to be a negative situation. It's a compromise to yourself, to believe in yourself, to let go of the negative things, to realize that no matter what failure you face, you are here to grow, and to not feel resentment towards the failures that you have brought on yourself. Now, failures is a very strong word. Let's leave it to the word fail. And I say that because when you do leave it to the word fail, it becomes and transitions into something called a lesson. And you learn from it, and you'll learn much more from failing than you will succeeding, because succeeding is the afterthought of all of the fails that have been brought onto you in the process of succeeding in itself. So with that being said, how long are you willing to wait and be angry at yourself for a decision that you've made? And how are you able to grow if you are dwelling on the anger and resentment you feel for yourself? You're not going to be able to grow at all. You're going to be so avoidant of all the problems that it creates that you're going to be stuck in this type of pod of negativity. You're going to be stuck in this pot of resentment and anger, and it's going to bleed out onto everybody that you know. They're going to see it shine through you, believe me, because I've been in places in my life where I let that get the better of me. And it's not a great place to be. It's a very lonely place to be. But if you make the decision, even if the decision you made before wasn't the correct decision, if that decision from origin created thoughts of resentment in you, if you decide to make the decision to stand up, face the problem, have accountability, talk things out with people, talk things out with yourself, learn from the failing that happened and grow from it, move on, and learn to make a better decision in the future and feel the gratitude that you feel and feel grateful for what it brought to you, you are going to come to a place that is the enemy of resentment. You're going to come to this place that pushes against resentment relentlessly. And what that place is safeguarding your peace. There are people who are going to be out there that have negative feelings about themselves, and that can't be helped. If they truly and deeply feel that about themselves, and in the process, they end up resenting you for what you're trying to do, what you are trying to be, who you're trying to be, even if you're doing everything to grow and better yourself. There'll be people that have resentment towards you. There are situations where resentment is created by yourself. And as an example, if you feel something towards something that somebody does and you decide, I'm not going to communicate it, because that's not polite. I'm not going to communicate it because, if they know how I feel, maybe it's going to create some backlash. Maybe it's not going to go the right way. And then you'll have all these what ifs about what you're willing to do or what you're wanting to do or how other people are going to feel. Well, what I say is, if you're close enough to a person and they're feeling resentment about you, it is very important that you communicate exactly your thoughts. But the approach is very important too. You can't just come out lashing out at them. You can't have anger and resentment towards their resentment towards you and send that message in that type of tone and expect to have a positive reception from it. They're only going to get angrier. So I believe it's just, you just sit down and you have a human conversation with somebody. If you're feeling some type of resentment, there's a reason why. You go over it in your head before you talk about it with them. Why am I feeling resentment towards this person? What is causing this resentment? You lay all the cards out on the table for yourself, and then you approach them. Hey, there's something I need to talk to you about. Now, I'm not claiming to be any kind of communication expert because I am not. I'm not claiming to be any kind of psychologist or therapist because I'm not. The only thing I'm doing here is laying out my opinions and sharing my personal life experiences, and I'm hoping that this can get through and relate to some people, especially if you're sitting there right now and you're having a resentment towards somebody, even if, if it's a loved one or if it's somebody very close to you, it could be very important. It could be very important for you to even try. Because if you're going to sit there and dwell on this resentment towards them, at one point, the situation, the circumstances in themselves are bound to implode. And it won't lead to anything good. I don't believe it'll lead to anything good. So sit down and have a human conversation with them. Sit down and just be yourself and tell them how you feel about the situation, why you feel that way about that, in a calm, cool manner, just a stoic manner. And when you're done saying what you feel, the most important thing to avoid all this resentment and to get rid of it, to clear the air of all this resentment, this is the most important thing, in my opinion, is to listen. Listen to what they have to say in reaction to what you just said to them. If you listen close enough, you are going to learn about how they felt in the first place, why they were doing what they were doing, and how it inadvertently led you to feeling resentment towards them. Because from situations I've been in, a lot of the time it's been a lot of misunderstanding. And a lot of misunderstanding comes from I shouldn't say a lack of communication, but maybe not the proper communication from somebody that you are sharing information with or having certain feelings about and this and that. So if you listen to exactly what they're saying and don't just hear them and think about the next thing that you are going to say. No, get everything out that you want to say and just stop and just listen, because really they're going to tell you what they're thinking. And you're going to be able to react back to that. And the direction that it should take is a direction towards resolution. And by the end of the conversation, hopefully both of you have reached the terms to where, oh, I didn't mean to make you feel resentment, and oh, you know what? This is all cleared up. Resentment is gone. Everything's cool. We can compromise, move forward. You can make a plan from there. You know, this is especially true in relationships between couples. From my experience and from things that I've seen and from what friends have shared with me and things like that. And it isn't too bold for you to actually speak up about what you're feeling about somebody or the decisions they made or the things that they've said. You do it because you care about them. If you're in a place where you don't want to speak up about what you say because you're afraid and that you feel like you're walking on eggshells because you can't communicate, well, I say to brush that all aside and give it a try anyway. If it has negative consequences, then you need to bring up how it isn't correct for them to have negative consequences towards you for actually speaking about how you feel. Because it's not wrong for somebody to speak about how they feel. And if you two don't meet eye to eye, you know, you could either compromise or you can call it. You can distance yourself. You can walk away. Now, you know, some might say that that isn't the most positive outlook on creating a solution, but it is a solution. And the reason why it's a solution is because of what I said before. It is protecting your peace. It's protecting the foundation of what helps you sleep at night. And it doesn't mean it's a bad thing that needs to happen either. I would definitely steer towards the direction of compromise. I would definitely steer towards the direction of being able to make the conversation flow and make everything work and come to a place to where everybody can agree. But the uncomfortable truth is there are situations where you are not going to meet eye to eye. And to face the problem and to find the solution would be to walk away. It's just that simple. And it doesn't mean that you have to hold power over somebody. It doesn't mean that you have to manipulate somebody. Oh, I'm feeling this certain way about this, and if you don't abide by the way I'm feeling, you know, it's over. It's not like that. It's not like that at all. It's just, hey, you did this and this, these actions. This is how I feel about it. What's the reason that you did those actions? And they explain it. Oh, I did these actions because this and this and this and this. And okay, well, when you did those actions, it made me feel this way. And then they say, oh, I didn't realize it made you feel that way. I was just, I took for granted whatever, blah, 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 blah. I'd done it so many times and you never said anything before, you know, and that's another thing is like waiting until that resentment builds up and then talking about it. In my experience, because I've done it, I'm not afraid to admit it, I have done it. And what that ends up causing is a harder path for you to compromise. And the reason is because the person is going to come back at you with, you know, I've done that so many times. Why didn't you speak up before? You know? And they're right. Why didn't I? Because you're sitting there in the first place, in the first phase of everything we've ever done, with the intent to care about me. And I have to be empathetic of the way you're feeling right now. because I waited so long to speak up and I built up all this resentment, and now I'm finally speaking out to you. So you're looking at me and you're looking at the situation like, why did it take so long for you to care? And that could be a possibility of what they might think. So that is another negative aspect as to why you shouldn't ignore the feelings of resentment. And it's okay to take some time to take a step back when you're feeling those feelings of resentment and to kind of compartmentalize everything mentally that is going on in your head in what you need to say and what you need to do. It's okay to take some time to do that, but it shouldn't take months or years. It shouldn't take many habits, repeated habits from somebody else that make you feel resentment for you to actually come to them to talk to them about it. Depending on what stage you are in your friendship or in your, association with them, whether it be at work or whatever else, or in your relationship with a person, there's a little bit of time where there's a buffer because, you're still at the point to where you're getting to know somebody, and you're always going to learn something new about somebody. No matter how long you've been with them, there's always something to learn. Never stop learning. There's always something to learn. But what I'm trying to say is there's going to be points where there are times and moments within this relationship that you have with whomever that you get to the point to where you know them well enough that if it starts becoming a repeated behavior that you feel is getting under your skin and you're starting to build resentment towards certain ways that they're acting or certain things that they're saying, well, then it's time to speak up. So you don't want to wait too terribly long to have that conversation. And I keep saying conversation because it should never be an argument. It should never be an argument about the way people feel. If someone's feeling something, try and understand why they're feeling that way. Even if it's really opposite of the way you think. It's because they're a different person. We really can't fathom the diversity in our conscious thoughts as human beings. We have the ability to steer ourselves in directions. So a good example of that is the way pop culture influences people, where the majority of people are going to like something based on the way it sounds, the way it feels, like how it looks, those sorts of things. There are commonalities in simple-minded aspects that are going to steer us towards things, but when it comes to the complexity of emotion and the complexity of how an individual wants to navigate their life and how they want to view themselves, who they want to become, what they want to become, what they dream, how they feel about people, the type of love they want to feel, all come from personal experiences. It comes from their environments, comes from all of these various places. And it is far too complex for all of us to try and wrap our heads around in one conversation. But what the reality is that we have the ability to compromise through our emotion. And it doesn't mean to give up everything you believe in either for a person that you're feeling some resentment towards. But if you have the conversation with them, at least it opens up the opportunity for you to sit across the table from this person and to understand what they were making you feel, as well as helping them understand how you feel. And once you have that conversation, in most cases, it's going to yield a positive outcome. They're going to respect you for your accountability. They're going to respect you for opening up to them. They're going to consciously think about why you were feeling that way towards them. It gives you the opportunity to listen to them and the reason why they were doing what they were doing and how it made you feel resentment. And it gives you both the opportunity to wash it all away. It's a beautiful thing. It's something that we shouldn't take for granted. It's something that we shouldn't take lightly. And it's something that I feel isn't being done enough in our society. There are a matter of various topics that I could go into that make me feel this way. And, I'm going to stress this time and time again on my episodes. There's a couple things that I'm going to stress because they are part of my core beliefs. One of them is that you need to take a look at all of your circumstances. You need to take a look at your life as a whole. You need to take a look at situations you've been in, possible situations you might be in, and realize that there is serenity surrounding us. There is our ability, there's that saying, there's our ability to recognize the things that we are in control of and to let go of the things that we are not. Those are the most important lessons in safeguarding your peace of mind, and your life in general. Because if you can recognize those things, you'll be able to recognize that feeling of resentment really, truly is in your control, and there is something that you can do about it. You can have that conversation. If they are unwilling to have that conversation, you can let them go, along with that feeling of resentment and along with that conversation in a whole. Even though I would implore everyone to at least get to the table and hear each other out. And that's the second, where it goes into the second core belief, is us today in our society, excuse me, and I'm talking about us as people all over this could go for people all over the world, but I live in the United States, and I see the way the United States is, and the society, and the way it was when I was growing up, and the way it is now. And we've lost touch with each other. Most places I go, you can have conversations with people. There's business as usual. There's a lot of stuff circulating the internet, blah, 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 things that you see that they're kind of outrageous and out of this world. And it's kind of like, you know what? I'm sitting down with people all the time and having good conversations with people. Where is this all coming from? And that is out there. But we aren't seeing each other eye to eye. And I don't think we ever fully have. There's always been this, but never at this level. There are things you could blame. There could be our access to information. To me, that could be a very huge one. Our access to so much information, and it's all spitfire. It happens so quick, so rapid, drawing away our attention span, taking away from our ability to have conversations with each other. Because, and I wrote a song about it, but it's like everyone's looking down and watching other people live their lives instead of, hey, I'm across the room, or I'm across the table from you, I'm sitting next to you in this chair. How about you and I talk about things that happen? We can even talk about the things that you're watching on your phone. I don't care. Let's have a conversation. Because when it comes down to the fundamental, instinctive thoughts that we have as people, we tend to realize that there are very little, not very little, there are smaller things in life that we can be grateful for, and we can share those things that we're grateful for. You're at the airport, and there was one of the restaurants in the airport, and you tried the food. Someone starts small talk with you. Well, then get into the subject of the food that you have. That person can have a completely different political view than you. They can have a different deity than you. They can be a different ethnicity. They can be a different race. They can have different creed, religion, whatever it may be. They can be totally different from you, but at their core, they are going to be the same. Like a normal, regular person. Talk about the food over there is amazing. You should really try that. Do you like this type? Get into a conversation with them and be human. If they get into something that you oppose, hear them out. Compromise with them. Talk with them. But we are taught that everyone who doesn't think the same as us is evil and they're trying to destroy me. That isn't always the case. There are radicals out there that might be trying to do or might be trying to say things to stir things up and do this and do that and do this and do that and blah, 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 blah. And it isn't always the case that everyone out there that has remotely similar views is going to be the same. So why sit there and stew and feel resentment about it when the solution could be to actually sit down across the table from somebody, even if it's somebody that has opposing views than you, and just let go of that resentment. I feel like it's a very important thing to do. So a little bit shorter of an episode tonight, but I just wanted to touch on this and have a good conversation about it. My episodes go up on Spotify. I am streaming right now live on YouTube and Twitch. You can find my videos on YouTube. You can follow me on Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok. Please like, subscribe, and share. Tell your friends about No Room for Comfort podcast. And if you have any questions or comments or want to have a conversation about this episode, or if you'd like to be a calling guest in the future, you can email me at noroomforcomfortpodcast@gmail.com. Again, I would love to have that conversation with you. I always love coming on here and just going off the cuff about the way I feel about things on certain topics. And I'm very appreciative for everyone on here who is willing to stick around and listen to me. And if any of this reaches you, if any of this resonates with you, please, please, please get a hold of me. I would love to have a conversation with you. It would be a very good thing. I would be very grateful for it. So with that being said, thank you for tuning in tonight. I hope you all have a good night. Thank you.